Hello everyone, welcome to another video. So in the last video, we discussed about the invitational tournament and my game with Shivan. So today we'll discuss my second game. I was playing with Soumya. So I'll bring up the game. So he was white, I was black, and I have played Soumya multiple times. Uh, he is a very dangerous player in shorter time format, and I think I've rarely won against him. The other thing that pains me the most was as black because I know he plays the London, which I know disrespect to people playing the London system, but it just to me it's one of the most boring openings in the world, and I would not want to play London. And I generally play the Grunfeld or Benoni, and I think when he played the London, I had prepared the day previous to that I'll surprise him a bit. But yeah, let's go and see how I surprised him or maybe messed up things and got into a bad situation. So d4, d5, bishop f4, the typical Soumya London move. And here comes in my preparation. I never played d4, so this was the first time I played d4, and I could see from his face that he was kind of a little bit surprised. And then I played c5, e3, pawn captures, knight c6. And I think here he took a small pause before playing c3. So I think he already saw this kind of variation, but he was trying to recall. And here the move that I had actually prepared f6. The plan is that I can play e5 and control the center. And I like I've seen in my preparation, and what I anticipated him to do was play knight f3 to stop e5, and he exactly did that. So I had predicted well. Bishop g4 pinning the knight, and here he played bishop e2, and so I didn't remember the exact sequence of moves, but I know there are two ideas here. The first one is I can exchange the bishop and play e5, and I think I'll have the center. The thing is, after this exchange, I just feel that the d5 will be under some pressure, and after knight f6, castling, even though I have the center, I just feel that the bishop pair gives more than sufficient compensation. And the thing is, I didn't even remember which one was the right option. I just knew both those ideas existed, and one of them might have been the correct one. The other one I had seen is g5, but again, I felt like g5, bishop e3. How do I proceed? So I thought maybe I'll play an intermediate move, which is queen b6. Maybe not the best idea. I had missed that he has the option of playing b4. I kind of thought he will either play queen c2 and I can play then e5, or he will play queen b3. So he played queen b3 and I simply exchanged. And I thought maybe he has double pawns, which is weak, but again, compensation is that his rook is on an open file. I knew that this kind of opening that I was going is not gives a slight edge to white, but I just wanted to catch him off guard, and it just felt more interesting than the typical London. And here I should have been playing e6 and developing my pieces, but I decided to play something that was more flashy: g5, bishop g3, h5, h3. Exchange the knight and the bishop, and e6. And I think, like I did in the previous game, this game also I just misevaluated the position completely. And to me, this position felt quite advantageous for white, and I just felt like I'm not winning. Like I just felt if this rook comes here, there's a weakness on e6. There will be a weakness on a7. The double bishop gives him an edge. if h5 becomes another third weakness, then I'm done for, and all my pieces are not developed. So I just felt I am lacking in development. Here, the bishop pair, my pawns will become weakness, and I cannot attack his double pawns in any way. So I thought maybe somehow if I manage to just develop my pieces using some tempos, that would be good. So I thought of playing, giving him this bait, knight h6, bishop captures, and remove the knight and do an attack, so that I can exchange the bishop and play bishop d6, like develop all my pieces with tempos. The other thing I noticed is if I exchange my knight for the bishop and somehow exchange my other knight for the bishop, will go into a opposite bishop endgame, which should be fine. And because he has double pawns, I thought maybe I can just afford to lose a pawn. I might have been wrong in that kind of evaluation. The reason I did not directly play knight h6 was bishop h5 was a check on my king. So if I, okay, here he played knight d2, and I thought if I played knight here, then this is a check. So I would not get that tempo. And I thought of knight d7, but I thought if I play knight b7, then he can, like, I'll need to play move my knight again and then develop my bishop again, which is just, I felt slow. I don't see a proper attack coming. I thought b4, b6 might be something, not sure. And yeah, so I played king d7, and I just wanted to give him a feel that okay, I'm coming bishop d6 to exchange bishops. He played b4, and here I played knight h6. I think he thought for a moment. He was also not that sure if there is any trap, but I think he is a good calculator, and he calculated well that nothing is happening. Again, you can see the computer evaluation. This was not a sound exchange. I think bishop d6 would have been better. Yeah, I just didn't like this b5 move where I had to again put all my pieces behind. Somehow I felt this is good for, like, completely winning for white, which again I misevaluated. So knight h6, he captured the bishop, knight f5, like we discussed, bishop f3, capture the bishop, bishop d6, develop with the tempo, king f2, and a6. So I did it. This pawn was always under pressure from the rook. So, but now I thought my rook and knight are now free to move some other places and continue. He played g4, and this kind of felt good to me because f4 now became a good outpost for my knight. So I thought maybe I'll just jump, and then jump here, and this knight will be in a good position. I also will have some threats. So knight e7, rook h to d1, and I saw that he can play knight b3, knight c5 check. If I move my king up, there's possibility that he can push c4, and I wanted to push e5. But the thing is, if I push e5, then after the knight move, um, this rook and bishop would attack my pawn, and my pawn would be under pressure. So knight g6, trying to go for the uh, this outpost, but also this knight would also be defending my e6 and d5 square. Knight b3, knight f4, knight c5 check. And I completely again misevaluated the danger of this move. I played king c6, and I thought, okay, my knight is defending. If he plays g3, I'll just then exchange my bishop and capture the pawn on h3. What I think both of us missed is after g3, bishop captures, pawn captures, knight captures h3, king h2. This knight is trapped. It does not have a square to move. So lucky save for me. Yeah, king c6, and he played knight d3. I should have attacked, but again, I was just in this mode of playing e5 and exchanging the pawns. But and I thought, okay, if I capture, he captures, I'm just giving him an opportunity to double on the file that I'll be soon opening up, and I didn't want to do that. So after knight d3, I thought, why should I capture? Let him capture, and I'll put my rook here to defend. So knight captures, bishop captures, rook e1. And here I have my plan was that if he plays rook e1, I'll just play e5 and defend. But this was actually a blunder because now white can play g3 and my bishop is trapped. I don't have anywhere to move my bishop. Bishop d2 and yeah, wherever. Now I'm just losing my bishop. And after he played rook e1, it's good that I just thought for a moment before simply plainly playing e5, and I realized I'm losing the pawn, so I had to defend e6 with my rook e2, bishop. I moved my bishop back, and the other thing is I was also a bit skeptical of white playing c4 here. I I cannot capture this pawn because of the bishop, and it just feels that this b5 might become a big weakness. I think so. My idea of moving the bishop to d6 instead of c7 was that now if white plays c4, I'll be able to capture the pawn on b4. It still gives white a lot of advantage because of this sacrifice, and I think again this is something that both he and I missed. And it was a difficult calculation for a rapid game that if I capture bishop, I'm just losing too many pawns. But yeah, I think he played more like in a 1700 rated player range, and we didn't calculate this. So doubling the rook, e5. Here c4 was actually a blunder, and I think he missed the portion. So let's move forward. King c7, rook d1, and I think he missed this part where I captured this pawn and he cannot capture it back because bishop c5 will pin the rook and he would lose the game. So after captures, he captured my rook. I captured his rook. Rook d3, defended the pawn. And here I thought I have the option of moving the rook back, attacking the pawn, or exchanging the rook and maybe going for a draw. I felt going for a draw was more simpler because I think in the whole game I was under pressure and I had less time as well. I just didn't feel like continuing this, and the previous game loss with Shivin didn't help at all. So I thought, okay, let's just exchange and opposite color. Like I think most of us are aware that opposite color bishops and mostly in draws. G3, B5, just trying to exchange pawns. H4. So if we look at the square of the pawn, this is the square, and currently my king is out of the square. But I had seen that I can move my king here, and it would be a tempo because now the bishop has to move, and I'll just come back in. So king d6, the bishop had to move, and I came back in. He played bishop d3, attacking my pawn. I did not want to capture and exchange the pawns because I felt that like he has double pawns, so let his pawns be double. And I also thought like he cannot move this pawn forward, and my pawn is on dark square. So sorry, so his bishop cannot attack my pawns, but I can always attack his pawn, and even if he captures this pawn, I'll just get back this pawn. This pawn will always be a permanent weakness for him. So bishop c4. This was actually a start of a good strategic idea that I completely missed. Attacking his pawn. I just thought bishop c4 was like a waiting move, but when I played bishop e5 and instead of capturing my pawn on e3, he played h5, I just realized that after king f8, h6, my king cannot go in. And if somehow he manages to get his king on f5 and then g6, I am completely lost. So, but thankfully, I had another idea left. Bishop d6. Again, I wanted him to capture, but he didn't. He played king f5. And I just grabbed this pawn. King f5. And I thought, he now thought maybe the king can come in. I could have played bishop here. And if e2, I can give up the pawn. But again, this looked way more complicated than what I did. Was just play e4. Bishop captures. And since the bishop is not there, my king can move to g8. He captured, and I think then the draw was very simple. Defend the pawn, put the king on dark square again. If you are in opposite color bishop endgames, just keep your pawns on the color of your bishop, and your the opponent bishop would have no target, so it would mostly not be able to do anything. And that is what happened here also. Both of us agreed for a draw then, and yeah, that was the end of the game. So I am at half out of two. The tournament doesn't look good. The next round was a bye, thankfully, so I had some time to rest. And in the next video, we'll discuss about my third game.